guns! Gimme!
More and more anime MMOs are coming out, and you won't see many of us complaining. The art style is well loved by many, and the idea of playing as an anime waifu or husbando is some gamers' dream way of spending time. Crystal of Atlan is an upcoming anime magipunk-themed action MMORPG for PC and mobile devices with crossplay functionality from Nuverse, a subsidiary of ByteDance, the owners of TikTok. Recently, the technical test was held for Western and South Korean players, and we were all more than happy to give the game a try. I will preface this by stating that, like always, everything is subject to change in the video as the game basically goes through localization and testing as a result of feedback submitted from the test phase. And of course, my experience of certain mechanics are always one-sided, so feel free to correct me in the comments below if you experience something differently. Crystal of Atlan welcomes you to the world by allowing you to essentially test all of their 4 classes in their basic forms right out of the gate before picking your adventurer and their subclass that you'll unlock at level 15. The 4 classes are the Swordsman, that branches off into Magiblade, a single sword wielder, or Berserker, which is a claymore wielder. Then Musketeer, that divides into a dual wielder of 2 pistols called the Bounty Hunter, or the Gunner, which lugs around a giant cannon, and of course spoke to my soul as a 5-foot person who loves giant guns to compensate for their size. Next is the Magister, that battles with the arts of magic and branches off into Elementalist, who calls upon the elements, or Warlock with their dark magic. And last but not least, but certainly the smallest, is Puppeteer, which tears off into Scythe Guard, who controls a scythe-wielding puppet, or Blade Maiden, whose minion utilizes dual-armed swords. All in all, this gives you 8 choices to pick from. As you have noticed, each of these classes are indeed gender locked. So if you're more interested in claymores and want to be a girl, you're just out of luck. We can see from the Chinese version of the game, since it released back in July, that there is a 5th class we could potentially and will likely get is the Fighter. She is a fist fighter, and I'm hoping we get her upon release or soon after. You're also probably staring at the screen wondering, wait, did they gender lock classes and limit us by not providing any type of character customization? Fear not, you do encounter character customization later on, but it can be something missed unless you're following the event suggested activities or talk to the traveling merchant as soon as you enter into the first area, although there's really nothing pointing you to do so. It's an easy change of appearance that'll only cost you a little gold that you can earn from playing the game, and you can utilize the merchant at any time when playing, so you can change your hair color, hairstyle, outfit color, and face type. The game is also meant to be played with multiple characters, so be prepared to pick 3 classes that interest you, as there is an energy system. We'll delve into that more deeply later. The purpose of you, the adventurer of Atlan, is to go out into this world and find the secrets of the Crystal of Atlan, which is the source of all energy for the world. And as you step out into the world, you'll begin to notice something, despite advertising itself as such. It's not an open world. I know they claim the game was open world, but it's not. This is more akin to a hub-based game like Soul Worker or Vindictus than anything else due to its repetition and segregated areas. If you're a fan of either of these games, honestly, you're going to love this. You'll be heading into different cities where you'll see a few other players around you, and as you follow the story, you'll move into story dungeons alone. Each dungeon comes in as small slices for the story, where you'll need to hit continue at an exit point to continue forward. Hidden in these dungeons is a chest that contains important resources for your pet, gold, and gacha style boxes for upgrades and various other items that we'll get into here in just a little bit. But fear not, if you forget them, you'll have opportunities to find them again. So as I mentioned, there is a repetitious feature, and nothing they have created in this game goes to waste. You'll need to redo these dungeons on elite difficulty, and this time you can do it with one other person, which is pretty nifty. But I did find when playing that each and every single person I did this with was a bot, except maybe one person who invited me themselves. This made some of them a little frustrating to do, as the bosses sometimes require mechanics that the bots didn't always participate in, like, destroying orbs. Then after doing the dungeon areas in the story and elite modes, you'll unlock the Abyss mode, which is the final boss you fought in the story mode, but it'll have a chance to drop rare gear and materials and cost not only stamina, but hunting tickets to enter. You'll also find you can go into the dungeon area again as an exploration zone where you can go through and collect any missed boxes and refight bosses for rewards. So all in all, you'll be repeating the dungeons numerous times, and no area is something you move through quickly and never return. You'll also want to potentially grind these fights in an attempt to get the gear you desire, as they are RNG drops like normal games. Beyond dungeons, there's something called tempered trials, where you'll basically go through waves of fights to move up the ladder to the next level. This can be done solo or with up to 3 others. Then there's Duel of Bonds, where you'll fight the various main story characters you come across for rewards. Duel of Bonds is done by yourself, but if you're looking for group activities that have an option for others to join you, there are arenas where you'll fight 3 waves of bosses with a fellow adventurer for rewards upon your first clear only. The Void Realm, where you can farm engravings for a daily limitation and a reward limitation that can be claimed once daily 3 times a week. Then the Golden Fleece, which seems to be mini games on specific days and specific times. Sadly, I didn't get to unlock this since it unlocked at level 55. I am very sorry. I tried. But, I was playing games, lots of games. And here we are. There's also your fleet, aka your guild, where you'll be able to meet up with your fellow fleet mates on a flying ship or run various boss fights at level 55 and up for fleet currency. Beyond that, there is PvP, which can be done solo or 3v3. The gear you have normally for PvE is not used within PvP, but you will have your own separate PvP gear that's earned from winning in the arena, with a limit on how much currency you can earn daily. Damage is adjusted to your character's current in-game level. PvP kind of works like a tit-for-tat system, since when you use your skills or become attack, it consumes your energy for attacks beyond your basic attack or dodges. So you'll notice in this PvP footage that we're running around aimlessly while we garner back energy. This is the way. When you gain your energy back, you can go in and hopefully CC them enough to the point of death. PvP does have a protection mechanism that functions close to diminishing returns, allowing you out of the CC after you've been CC'd for what feels like forever, and allows you to be immune for it for a period of time. So when you go into PvP, it's just going to require a bit of forethought, skill setup, and patience. Combat also allows you to customize your skills not only in PvP, but also PvE. The combat, which is actually hybrid combat, allows you to tab between enemies and has a soft lock that you can opt in and out of. The combat is quite smooth, fast, and flippy. You'll need to move between aerial combat to leap into the air and pull down airborne enemies and ground attacks. As a gunner, I'd be able to fling the enemies up into the air and then slam them back down onto the ground, and I could even change between melee attacks or ranged cannon attacks based on the skill I chose to utilize. You'll also gain energy from perfect dodges, so let's hope your reaction time is on point. A lot of different skills you unlock can be used and placed where you want for different combo attacks for either PvE or PvP, making your class a bit more unique than others depending on what you pick to dump your points into. Some gunners I saw used mines in PvP, while others like myself don't. It just kind of depends on what your style is and what works best for you. Your gear will also set you apart. As I mentioned earlier, in the dungeon section, gear is an RNG drop from nearly every fight you do, so some gear will have different stats. You can also wear light armor or heavy armor. It just kind of depends on what your class calls for and what you'd like to put in terms of stats. Socketed insignias will also give you different stats and circuits as well, with unlocked bonuses as you upgrade them. So depending on your luck with drops, you could have a great build for your class or not so great one. Gear also needs to be upgraded, and the upgrading does have a decreased success rate the higher you go. I'm personally not the biggest fan of this gear improving style, but it is what it is. I'd recommend saving your upgrading resources for later on in the game if you can stand it, because I ran out so quickly. And as I mentioned earlier, there is a slight gacha mechanic within this game. There are artifact boxes that you'll get through playing the game or Battle Pass, and these boxes can drop success rate increases full-on upgrades for 13+ on your gear or potions, and a few other things, including but not limited to pets, which we'll discuss here shortly. You can even buy gear from the trading post or spend what looks to be currency purchased with real money for gold that you can either buy or sell to continue upgrading your gear, as it does take some good amount of gold. Beyond the gear itself, there are also outfits that give you stat increases. These can be bought in the shop with what appears to be real money currency. This doesn't appear to translate into PvP as far as I can tell. There are also titles that will give you different stats that can either come from an outfit or earned by playing. You can also get pets, which also have different stat increases and an ability to be used in battle. These pets can be attained through the store, battle pass, or story. But of course, the higher tier pets seem to be done through the battle pass or the store. You can have 2 pets equipped at a time, and some may heal, provide a shield for you or the team, and some may do more damage, but you can utilize both within battle. And now the big dreaded thing we need to talk about: stamina. What would a cross-platform game be without stamina? So each day you have a limit of 120 stamina to use. It does not regenerate, and the only way to gain more seems to be by buying more energy or gaining more through the battle pass. You'll also have 80 extra energy on reserve if you miss a day, so all's not lost if you miss a day of running dungeons or bosses. Most PvE activities will consume from 5 to 10 energy, including story. However, fear not, because the story also has locks on it and will require you to wait a certain amount of hours before you can continue on. Though this is where I mentioned the multiple characters aspect comes in. At this time, you can log out and go do things on your other 2 characters, and if you work on all 3 characters, you'll begin to earn some currency from a shop section for some helpful goods. Each of these characters can also use the downtime to do crafting and collecting. There are segregated regions you can enter, including exploration aspects of the dungeons to collect valuable materials to cook or craft. Food works just like nearly every other game. It'll provide you different benefits and bonuses, and crafting will allow you to make potions, upgrading materials, circuits, and more. You can also work on PvPing for the daily limit on the PvP currency with no stamina needed. You should also be visiting your house every day to get a nice buff for yourself that lasts around 30 minutes. You can listen to some music here and there and just look around at all the things you've collected from the story. Overall, you're going to encounter a few roadblocks when playing, and some people are going to be fine with it and some are not. But you guys should know that it is there. Overall, Crystal of Atlan will be a nice addition to the available anime-themed games out there. A good thing about Crystal of Atlan is the fact that the story is actually fairly decent. It makes sense, the voice acting is good, and here is a feature that I absolutely adored. The fact you could actually skip the story and then it would give you a small couple sentence long TLDR for the story. I love that. I need that in more games because that was great. So thank you for Crystal of Atlan for doing that. Hats off to you for that one. 10 out of 10. Though this doesn't really feel any more MMO-esque than games like Tower of Fantasy or Blue Protocol do. I'd say it's closer to Soulworker in terms of grouping. The only time you'll see people are in the hubs or group content. I think you can have up to 4 people for some group activities, but the system just kept putting me with one bot or one person, but mainly the bot. Just a bot. I do see you can make a group of 8, but I don't see the content yet that would call for 8 people or allow for 8 people. Perhaps there will be some later down the line. For the most part though, nearly everything is done solo or can be done solo. So this will really speak to the solo players out there. but you know, if you play with other people, it is gonna make it easier. Also, something that should be mentioned, this game has already released in China as of July this year, and unfortunately layoffs have already begun for the studio, but the West and South Korea are looking at a release sometime in the future, and it's still 100% confirmed to be coming despite ByteDance looking to sell the rights to the IP. This information should be known for eventual updates for the game and potential exchanging of hands and its approaching release. Now you guys know a little more about Crystal of Atlan and can either put this on your can't wait list or not bother list. Let me know what you guys think of the game down in the comments below. This was MRSSSTIX logging off for now. Bye!